What about what Muhammad said? Because that's much greater. The hadith are much more prolific. The first person to write down the hadith would be this man here, Al-Bukhari. Sahih Bukhari is what is known as. Sahih Bukhari, he dies in 870. He wrote between 850 and 870, that 20-year period. So everything we know about what Muhammad said comes from this man and others who come after. Sahih Muslim, Ibn Dawud, Tirmidhi, and the others. But they all come after Al-Bukhari. That's 240 years after the fact. Which means everything we know about who Muhammad is, what he said, and as far as the tafsir is concerned, and the tahriq, which would be the commentaries that explain the Quran, and the tahriq, which would be the histories of mankind, all first written by this man, Al-Tabari, and he dies in 923. That's the 10th century. So everything we know about what happened over here in the 7th century does not come from the 8th century. It comes from the 9th century, 200 to 300 years after the fact. And that's why today, historians are asking, hold on a minute, let's look at Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is also a historical figure. He also lived in history. He also lived in a certain place, did certain things, said different things. We know about his biography, do we not? Is there not a siddha of Jesus written down? Yes, there is. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Is there not also the hadith of Jesus, which would be the sayings of Jesus? Yes, there is. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In my Bible, whenever Jesus speaks, it's red letters. That's the hadith of Jesus. So there's the parallels. Those are the parallels. The New Testament basically is nothing more than the sunnah of Jesus. Like you have the sunnah of Muhammad, you have the sunnah of Jesus. But take a look and see when they were written down. We know that Paul's letters are written within 20 to 30 years. We know that 3 of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, are written within 40 years of Christ's death. We know that John comes much later, around 92 AD. So 60 years is the latest we get. Now, hold on a minute. Even if you look at those 4, 2 of them actually knew Jesus, did they not? Matthew and John were actually disciples of Jesus. They lived with him. They saw what he did. They heard what he said. They wrote down what they knew. And the other 2, Mark and Luke, got it from the eyewitnesses. So at the most, what you would say, the earliest that we have for the hadith and the siddha and the tafsir, because the tafsir would be the commentaries, that's Paul's letters. Commentaries means explains what Jesus did. That's what Paul does in Ephesus, in Philippi, in Corinth, in Colossus. He then writes and expounds on what Jesus said and did. There's the commentaries. The tahriq would be the book of Acts, the history of the early church. So we've got the exact same 4 genres in the New Testament that they have in Islam. But whereas our tafsir and our sunnah of Jesus comes within 15 to 60 years of Christ's death, written by the eyewitnesses and those who knew the eyewitnesses, the sunnah of Muhammad comes to 200 to 300 years later.